So, last episode can be summed up as fuck. This episode, hopefully it's not, it upgrades itself from fuck, because holy shit, last episode. Continue. Weariness and a headache. Not a very nice way to start the day.
What's wrong, Kiachi? You don't look so well. When did you go to sleep?
It seemed that my mom had noticed my sullen state. Yesterday, I kept on waking up in the middle of the night. Without a doubt, I felt a presence. I felt the presence of someone standing in front of my door. I told myself repeatedly that it was in my imagination and forced myself to try to sleep. Except, not being able to stand it, I gathered up my courage and opened the door. Of course, there wasn't anyone there. I think I did this 3 times throughout the night. Or maybe I just don't remember doing it any more than that. Even though I was able to get to the breakfast table without incident, I still don't feel at ease. It might be a cold. I don't really have an appetite.
My, you do seem a little warm. Well, can you make it to school?
Technically, I did go to a school, but it was mostly self-study. It wouldn't matter much if I missed a day, would it? I could have been that I hadn't been feeling well for the last few days, because I really did have a cold. If I took some medicine and got a good day of rest, I might be able to greet everyone with a smile tomorrow. Startled, I looked back and forth between the entrance and the clock. It was 10 minutes later when I usually met up with Rena. It was Rena.
Rena-chan came to get you. What are you going to do? Are you going to take the day off?
Rena was a good girl. She might be somewhat quirky, but she was certainly cute. The lunches she made were delicious, and she always looked out for me. Why should I be so scared of something like that? It wasn't Rena's fault. It was probably mine. It had to have been my cold. It just had to be. I'll rest. Sorry.
Then I'll go send her off for you.
Mom headed off to the door. I would have had to pass the entrance to get back to my room. I didn't have the nerve to meet with Rena, so I wrapped myself in a blanket on the sofa and closed my eyes. I was so sleep-deprived that I quickly fell into a deep slumber. I had only intended to lie down for a bit, but it was almost noon when I woke up. I called out to my parents, but they didn't seem to be around. On the table, I found the lunch prepared and a note. Mom and Dad had apparently driven off somewhere far away. It likely had to do with Dad's work. This happened every so often, so it wasn't that unusual. They would probably be back sometime after dinner. And they're out of the house, and... On the note, it read, "The insurance card is in the cabinet. Take it and go to the hospital." There was also a well-drawn map to the hospital. That's right. I hadn't been there before, so I didn't know exactly where it was. I had a light lunch, although it really was just leftovers from the morning, and just in case, went to the hospital. Normally, I'd never been here in the middle of a weekday. Just walking around like this had me feeling guilty. It was an odd feeling. Following my mom's map, I took a road that I usually never used. After walking for a bit, the hospital sign came into view. Irie Clinic was written on the rather stylishly on the sign. The clinic wasn't very big, but it was based on the scale of the rest of Haminazawa. It was far too grand. But based, there you go. There was a parking lot and even a reserved spot for buses. They must be making a mint. I spaced out in the air-conditioned waiting room until it was my turn to be seen. "Mahabara-san, please make your way to the examination room." After properly answering all of the chatty doctor's questions, he responded with the old, "It's probably a cold." They gave me a shot and 3 days worth of medicine. I thought it was a little overboard, but if it would clear away the gloomy feeling I'd been having lately, then it was worth it. I settled the bill and took a quick trip to the washroom. As I was leaving, I overheard a conversation between some elderly people who seemed to be regulars at the clinic. Of course, I had no intention of eavesdropping, but that's apparently what I do. If it just wasn't the word for it.
It must have been Onikakushi.
I wonder.
She was still pretty young. Might have just eloped. With whom? That man from Tokyo who visits every season.
That young one with that camera.
That young one with the big camera. Didn't you know they were getting along pretty well?
Were they talking about T-Dog-san? I could feel my ears perking up.
I didn't know about that, but you have to make preparations before you elope. Leave a note or quit their job or something. It's an elopement because they didn't leave any note or message. The thought that I'll never see that young nurse's face again, it makes me rather sad. Takano-san is an upstanding young woman. She'll be fine wherever she goes.
So her name was Takano-san. Man, why? I get the burps. Burpy burps. That woman with T-Dog-san. And she worked at this clinic? Oshiro-sama's shadow was following me wherever I went. I started listening more closely, but they began talking about fishing, and I didn't really seem to give a shit. Didn't seem likely they were going to revisit the topic, and I left. Thus, even though I was separated from the daily monotony of school, I wasn't able to escape from Oshiro-sama's shadow. But of course, Oshiro-sama was the guardian deity of this place, of Hamanazawa. As long as I was in Hamanazawa, I wouldn't be able to escape. Maybe it was because I was walking outside, but my appetite had suddenly returned. I might as well buy a snack with some change from the examination fee on the way home. Contemplating that, I turned to a familiar street. At that moment, I hear a car horn abruptly honk behind me. Was I really walking so far in the middle of the road where I would be in a car's way? I moved further off to the side, but the horn was still honking at me. I turned around, peeved.
Marabara-san! It's good to see you.
It was Iwashi-san. He stepped out of his car, AC on full blast, and waved at me.
What's up today? School on a break?
Just not feeling well, so I took the day off. I was about to buy lunch and head home.
That's great. I'm just about to get lunch myself. You mind going together? If you're not feeling up for it, then don't mind me.
I was just going to lie down after going home anyway, and I didn't really have a cold. I doubt you'd want to eat at a place like one of these locals things. Let's go into town. Wait.
I doubt you want to eat at one of these local places. Let's go into town. It's a bit of a drive, is that alright? I know a pretty good place.
I finally began to understand Oshiro-san's roundabout way of saying things. He probably wanted to talk to me about some stuff that would be difficult to discuss while in Hamanazawa. Yeah, especially with not having a listener. I went with Iwashi-san riding in his frigid car. It was almost as if he'd brought as if the bright sunlight outside was a lie.
I'm sorry about calling you so late at night. Did your parents get angry at you?
No. I recalled Rena, who had been listening to the phone conversation all that time, separated from me by just the door. Even now, in the brightness of the sunlight, the thought still creeped me out. With a big bump that jolted the car, the road connecting to the city changed from dirt to pavement. My head swiveled back with a sudden realization. That's right. This was where T-Dog-san died.
I've hit a snag in the investigation regarding T-Dog-san.
Higurashi-san spoke while peering at me from the corner of his eye.
I believe it was caused by hallucinogens, given how he was clawing out his own throat. But a drug that could cause that to happen so suddenly is extremely hard to come by. Bear in mind, of course, the autopsy was done with that premise in mind, but we didn't find any leads.
You know that thing you see in the comics all the time? Where there's... I'm assuming this is still him talking.
You know that thing you see in the comics all the time? Where there's this drug that, if you put it in them, it doesn't leave any traces? It exists.
Oh wait, no, that was me talking. Fuck. It doesn't leave any traces?
It exists. Sucking alcohol or something or other. Well, it's pretty common. But you see, there doesn't seem to be any kind of drug that would cause T-Dog-san to react like that.
Then you're just saying the police concluded T-Dog-san just died from the curse? I couldn't help but feeling that the police were worthless. I just wanted the idea of the curse to be disassociated from T-Dog-san's mysterious death.
Unfortunately, that's how it looks right now. But, putting that aside, a cause of death, without a doubt, he was surrounded by a group of people and had taken a beating before he died. That was no curse, but an innocent that unquestionably involved other humans.
That made me a bit relieved, I guess. Relieve's the proper term. We passed the front of a rather desolate, but still busier than Haminazawa train station. The car pulled into the restaurant parking lot, and I followed Higurashi-san into the shop. It was pretty crowded, but there were only adults at this hour. Of course, there wouldn't be any children in here in the middle of a weekday.
Two, please, non-smoking.
This way, please. When you're ready to order, please call me over.
We were led by a particularly dressed waitress to our table. I sat with Higurashi-san at the booth.
So, what do you think? Aren't the waitress's outfits here cute?
Huh? Well, I guess.
This shop is always quite busy. It's more about the waitresses than the food, you see.
Aha. Higurashi-san, you're leering.
Huh? Am I really?
Regardless of how the waitress looked, the food was decent enough. Finishing our meals while talking about some inane topic, Higurashi-san's after-meal cup of coffee arrived at the table.
Yesterday we talked about Haminazawa's past, didn't we? Yeah.
Yeah, that was the village of man-eating demons or something like that.
I didn't know much about that myself, so I asked my grandmother about it this morning.
Higurashi-san took out the notepad that was stuffed into his breast pocket.
Turns out that Haminazawa used to be called Onikakushi, or Ogi's Abyss.
Onikakushi? That's quite the name.
The name's still around. The marsh where the Shinto priest's wife drowned itself is still called Ogi's Abyss. It's said that the depths of that marsh connect with the realm of demons.
Of course, nobody had told me anything about such an ominous marsh.
And you see, it appears that they were both feared and revered.
A respect born of fear. I guess you could say it was a kind of deification. A village of inhuman creatures.
Seems the demons were Shenin, or mountain-dwelling mystics of sorts. Taking villages with incurable illnesses into the Ogi's Abyss and healing them, for example.
Even if we are calling them demons, Tengu long-known demons or Shenin would be a more apt description. They don't seem to like such They don't seem like such terrible people, even though they were called demons.
But they were still man-eating demons, according to the story my grandma told me. As payment for treating the son's illness, let us eat the mother who brought him here, was apparently how things went.
The price of curing her son was herself? That's unsettling.
Of course, the mother took his son and ran. Then, you see, all the people who lived in Onikakushi, the demons chased them down, rounded them up, and captured them.
The entire village, apparently. That's quite a frightening thing to imagine.
In the end, it seems both the mother and son were caught and eaten. The end.
There's a problem with this story. Both witnesses in this story were eaten, so nobody would be able to tell the tale.
There are plenty of old fables like this.
In contrast to the ghastly tale, Iwashi-san laughed heartily while sipping his coffee.
But, well, there are quite a few other tales, where the demons from Onikakushi band together and capture their prey.
I recalled that Mion said that the villagers united and fought against the dam construction. I saw similarities with how that part about unification overlapped.
Normally, they hunted down a single person, and they chased who it was going to be beforehand.
Huh? That caught my attention. Iwashi-san also appeared to be pondering what it meant.
My grandmother told me that you must never interfere with the demon's hunt. You should just hole up in your house and hide under the covers, she said.
So, what does this all mean?
It means you mustn't ever help or protect the prey. As long as you don't disturb the demon's hunt, no harm will fall upon the villagers. It seems like it's kind of a rule.
Basically, don't help the victims. Pretend you don't see the atrocities, in other words.
What happens if you
break this rule?
Well, they're man-eating demons after all.
Many parts of that tale caught my attention. Parts of the story he told me overlapped with his theory that the perpetrators were all the village families. Even if it wasn't the whole village, it was conceivable that the villagers were hiding under their covers and leaving them to die when there was a group that was on their hunt, wasn't it? I don't dare speak it. Then, Iwashi-san, I guess it looks like it's either the village families or a group of villagers perpetrating the crimes?
Well, what do you think, Maibara-san? Excuse me. Another cup of coffee, please.
That's what I wanted to know. It seemed that we were both waiting for the other to say the last part. I waited for the waitress to finish pouring the coffee before speaking. Last year I had a kind of nagging feeling when Satoshi-kun disappeared. I don't know who's talking. Iwashi-san muttered as he watched the milk swirl around his coffee.
So those friends of Satoshi-san, meaning your group of friends, Maibara-san, I had a bit, really just a little bit, okay, of a background checking done on them.
If Iwashi-san had said this to me before, I would have been furious, since he told me earlier not to suspect my friends. But as I was now, I couldn't.
This might sound pretty stupid. Maibara-san, if you feel that it's stupid, please say so. I'll just stop.
Iwashi-san was wearing the most serious of expression that I've ever seen from him. It was as if he was telling me to prepare myself and listen. There were quite a few things that I regretted hearing from Iwashi-san, but none of them were as threatening as this. A little voice inside me was screaming like an alarm. Stop, Kiyachi. This is probably the last one. I took a deep breath and silenced that voice. I would not run from the truth. Please. That was all I could utter. Iwashi-san stared into my eyes silently for a few moments. After he was certain I was ready, he began.
The victim of the incident in the first year was the overseer. A few weeks prior, he had an altercation with Mio and Sonozaki-san. Multiple altercations.
Higurashi-san had said that before, that Mion had defied the dam project vehemently. Whatever. Well, it was hard to imagine how she'd be if she got worked up. It wasn't hard.
In the second year, the married couple who supported the project died in that accident, right? They had a daughter. Her name is Satoko Huojo-san.
Huh? Satoko, meaning Satoko? Higurashi-san's look told me that my voice was too loud. I realized it as well and quickly quieted down.
The Shinto priest and his wife who died in the third year, you see. Their daughter is Ryuko Furuta-san.
Rika-chan was...
The housewife who died in the fourth year you already know, don't you? It was a step-aunt of Satoko Huojo-san. She was in her aunt and uncle's custody. She had just lost both of her parents in an accident. She lived in the victim's house.
I could tell my lips were getting dry. In real life, my lips are getting dry. Fuck. I didn't even have the wits to keep my mouth from hanging agape. I had thought that it was nothing but a bizarre incident, one that could easily distance myself from. But clicking and clacking, it all snuck up. It snuck all the way up to my feet.
The one who disappeared the fourth year, by the way, he was Satoko-san's older brother.
What? Wait just a second. It took everything I had to finally say that. I gulped down a glass of water and once again wiped my face with a napkin.
Calm down, Kiyashimabara.
But Higurashi-san was relentless. Instead of waiting for me to finish sorting out my feelings, he started speaking again. The last of the things that I shouldn't have heard. Take a drink.
All of the victims seem to be connected to your group of friends.
That just has to be a coincidence.
Mahabara-san, keep it down. Everyone's looking.
Mion, Satoko, Rika-chan. So what if they were connected? You're telling me all of my friends. It couldn't be. It just couldn't be. Rina is different, isn't she? Rena isn't connected with the victims at all.
Rena Ryugu-san was living in a suburb of Ikebara Prefecture up until last year. Well, it's true she hadn't been directly met any of the victims.
He said it in a roundabout way. Is he saying she's also connected?
Actually, I looked into her before Ryugu-san moved away to Hamanazawa. She was suspended from school. It seems she went through her school building and broke all of the windows.
Rena did that? She broke all the windows at her school? That same silly Rena had? I couldn't even imagine it.
It seems that after her 3-day suspension, she didn't return to school. She went to a neurologist and was diagnosed with... dysautonomia, whatever. She was given weeks of counseling and medication.
I wonder if it was something like a nervous breakdown. I heard that it happens to people who are really methodical or overly sensitive. Neither of those match Rena's easygoing personality.
And in the counselor's medical report, he recorded all of the conversations he had with Rena-san. It shows up. And quite a bit at that.
What did? I pressed forward carelessly. There couldn't be anything more for me to regret.
She mentioned the word Ashira-sama.
It felt like someone's stone-cold hand was caressing my back. Why had Rena spoken of Oshiro-sama before she had even come to Hamanazawa?
Seems that Oshiro-sama she had spoken of was like a ghost, appearing to her in her house every night, standing over her pillow, looking down at her.
My mind froze. I couldn't process what I was being told.
A while after that, she moved to Hamazawa. Ah, that's right. She's not an outsider.
Huh?
According to their residency register, the Ryugi family used to reside in Hamazawa. Rena-san moved to Ibiki right after she had finished elementary school.
My mind went completely blank. It was similar to the static you'd see on a blank TV channel. My ears began ringing as I lost all sense of comprehension.
Marabara-san, are you alright? Shall we stop?
Those words brought me back. I couldn't let it end here. No. Now I understand Rena. Then, how about the last victim, T-Dog-san? Who was he connected with? Irritated, I let out one final reprisal.
All of them. Have you forgotten, Marabara-san? Didn't you all spend the night of the festival together quite merrily? Quite a few of the officers saw you enjoying yourselves.
Now there was nothing I could respond with. I fell silent as my brain turned to mush.
Well, you should get going. Marabara-san, did you take your afternoon medicine?
I had completely forgotten about the medicine I had gotten today until Owashi-san said that. I got another glass of water and we left the shop after I chugged it down. That probably sounds horrible on the mic, but whatever. We got in the car and returned to Hamazawa via the rough road. I never really paid attention when I was on my bike, but did cars normally shake this much? It's almost as if the road was desperately trying to tell me something. But that big jolt was from the difference in elevation of the road when it changed from cement to dirt. I was certain that I heard T-Dog-san scream. I sat in silence, just letting myself be shaken by the car.
I'll drop you off at your house. You missed school because you were ill, correct? My apologies for the long conversation.
Why did you talk to me? I blurted out the question. Really, I just blurted it out. I didn't expect an answer.
I did check with you first, didn't I? If we should just stop.
Not that. Why did you reach out to me? I understood quite well that Iwashi-san was investigating this string of suspicious incidents. But why was he telling me all of this? I knew nothing and I couldn't help. Everything Iwashi-san spoke of was news to me. First of all, what could I do, having just moved here, you know? But by chance, if there was a reason for Iwashi-san to reach out to me, then it would have to be that I looked suspicious to Iwashi-san, as I was a part of Mion's circle of friends.
I'm retiring this year. I plan on moving away after retiring as my grandma wants. So, while I'm still on the case, I wanted to bring the truth behind this incident to light.
So, Iwashi-san, you suspect them, don't you? All of them. Iwashi-san didn't really give a response. It felt a little late, but I thought it was his way of showing a bit of consideration for my feelings.
This is mostly my intuition from 30 years on this job. Marabara-san, you're the one in danger.
Huh? I wanted to reply with what that was absurd, but in my downtrodden state I couldn't bring myself to say it.
I'll be retiring this year, so I won't be at the next Watanagashi. So, I want to settle things.
In other words, he was insinuating that on the next Watanagashi, I might be the victim.
I've been warned by the chief as well. Each incident in the string of cases has been solved. They just don't bring them up again, or so I was told. This is the pressure that I'm facing.
Pressure? From what?
Someone in Hamazawa. We've arrived. This is fine.
After some time, the car finally reached the path to my house. The clock read 2 p.m. I was surprised so little time had passed since we ate. It was hot outside the car. The chirping of the Higurashi hurt my ears.
I won't mind if you just forget everything I told you today. But I'm still going to keep investigating. I'll land Shirashama's curse this year.
So you're saying that I should contact you if anything happens?
It's fine. Just contact me when you feel like you have to, Mahabara-san.
I wasn't collected enough to understand Oshiro-san's roundabout way of saying it.
Be sure to take it easy. I'm sorry for throwing all of that at you while you're still taking the day off because you're sick.
I didn't really give any sort of response.
I'll always be on your side. If anything, believe that. I'll be off now.
The tires crunched over the dirt road as the car made a U-turn and disappeared into a cloud of kicked-up dust. It felt like I was watching a boat only throw me a lifesaver in a shark-infested waters before disappearing into the dark distance. It was the first time I thought Owashi-san was being unfair. Telling me I was going to be the next victim, then just saying to contact him if something happened. This wasn't a criminal investigation. He was fishing, and I was just the bait dangling off the line. Would the fish be the perpetrator? Or was it really just Oshiro-sama's curse? Either way, the bait would be swallowed whole. Damn it, I don't want to die. For some time, I could do nothing but stare at the puddle of water left behind by the AC from the car. I wonder how much time had passed since I'd laid down. It was getting dark outside. My body was soaked in sweat. It would probably be a good idea to change my sheets. At the moment, the phone downstairs rang. It was probably Mom. Mom was quite the worrywart. Maybe she had called many times, but I just didn't notice. Hello, this is the Mahabara residence.
Oh, he's alive. Hello, this is Mio. How are you doing?
Wait, who is talking? I thought I was talking.
Is this one of Kiachi's friends? Kiachi is resting right now, but shall I put him on?
Huh?
Oh, no, what? Okay, let's redo this conversation now that I kind of know who's talking. Hello, this is the Mahabara residence.
Oh, he's alive. Hello, this is Mio. How are you doing?
Huh, is this one of Kiachi's friends? Kiachi is resting now, but shall I put him on?
Huh? Is this his dad? Ah, sorry. Ah.
Idiot. You fell for it. Huh? Fuck. Fucking goddamn, who's talking? Okay, so it's me being a dumbass. Why am I making a stupid joke right now?
Huh? Ki-chan!
After our exchange, we both had a good laugh together. Except I was so suspicious of her even as we were laughing. Was everybody really involved in the incidents? The fact that I couldn't say no saddened me.
I'm relieved that you seem well. Rena was really worried about you, you know. Satoko-chan was happy and said that you got what you deserved. Rika-chan said how unfortunate he's sick.
Looks like everyone's making a big deal out of it.
Well, you know, so Ki-chan, is now a bad time to come pay you a visit?
A visit? No, it's okay. It's not like I'm dying.
My grandma made a ton of mochi, you see. I was told to share them, so I'll bring you some.
Hey now, you'll catch my cold.
Not to worry, both Rena and I are too stupid to catch a cold. I believe that should have gone, not to worry, both Rena and I are not too stupid to catch a cold. See you. Be there in a bit. She hung up cheerfully. Rena's coming too? That's what it sounded like. I was still concerned about meeting Rena, but I guess if she was with Mion... I hear the doorbell 10 minutes later. How are you feeling? Did you take your medicine and rest? I did just that.
Thank goodness, you look well. I was worried.
Sorry, I'll be fine by tomorrow. Mion showed a complete lack of concern for someone who's recovering, and Rena looked like she was worried about me from the bottom of her heart. It didn't look like there was anything behind those expressions. I thought we might hang out for a bit, but it looks like you're not quite in the condition for it. Huh? You don't say. It seemed my face appeared a bit sullen.
Then here, Kiachi-kun. These are the mochi Michan's grandma made.
Rena held out the package wrapped in newspaper. There might be about 5 in there. It was quite hefty. Thanks. Send my regards to your mother, or grandmother, Mion.
Yep. There's one that I made in there as well. I wonder if Kiachi-kun can guess which one.
This is Ki-chan's homework since he missed the club meeting today. There are letters on each of the mochis, so I'll ask you tomorrow.
Were you just checking if I was feeling better, or did you just come here for club activities?
Yep, looking fine. Guess you'll just be able to make it tomorrow.
Man, what are you going to do if my fever comes back because of your shenanigans?
Michan, we shouldn't be making such a racket. Let's go. There are other people here who'll get angry.
Both of them thought my parents were home. It was because of the entryway was a mess.
You're right, let's get going. By the way, Ki-chan.
Yeah?
What did you eat for lunch?
The sudden question startled me, and I went wide-eyed when I saw Mion. I had never seen her out like that. It was highly unsettling visage. But why was she asking me about what I ate for lunch? What she said was so inane that it was almost meaningless. The way she said it, it was almost like she didn't even care at all about what I ate. I ate out. She must have suspected that I was with Iwashi-san. Anyway, I felt that if I hesitated or tried to change the subject, then they read too deep into it, so I tried answering as quickly as possible. Except, contrary to the efforts I had made, there was a pause before I replied.
So you ate out for lunch, Kiachi-kun.
The glimmer from Rena's eyes had changed at some point as well. It was now sharp, as if to make me feel the feigned ignorance behind her words even more. As if she already knew. That's how it looked to me.
Well...
Well, was it good?
Why are you asking me this? Mion was speaking in an unusually low tone. Almost as if she knew that I had eaten at the restaurant in town. No, I'm overthinking this. I mean, both of them should have been in school at lunchtime. There was no way that she could have known where I was.
Seems like you were with a rather austere-looking older guy. Who was he?
Flop. The package with the mochi I was holding slipped out of my hands. I could tell that the blood had drained from my face, making me go pale.
Oh. Kiachi-kun. Who?
Oh. Kiachi-kun, who was he? Could it be the person from before, I wonder? I could feel the back of my throat going dry.
This was no longer a bluff. They knew everything. How do you know that? It took everything I had to finally force those words from my throat. My knees were shaking.
Because there's nothing that this old man doesn't know.
Mion sneered knowingly, and her laugh seemed to carry on forever.
So, Ki-chan, what did you talk about? It seems like you two got pretty worked up over it, too.
What? We weren't talking about you guys. It didn't have anything to do with you or Rena.
It's a bit strange to hear our names come up even though nobody asked about that.
Rena's unwavering gaze pierced through my eyes and peered further inside me. I dug my own grave. My heart was throbbing so much it felt like it was going to explode.
Well, whatever you're trying to hide, this old man already sees through it all. Remember that.
I couldn't even shake my head. It took everything I had to stop my teeth from chattering. She never let her gaze break from mine, even as she tilted her head slightly.
Kiachi-kun, you don't look so good. I think you should lie down.
That's true. We should both head back home.
As if nothing had happened, they both giggled at each other and started making their way out. I hadn't moved a muscle since I had dropped the package of mochi. As they left, the door slowly closed behind them. All I could do was stare. As if I couldn't move until the door had completely closed. Just as the door was about to close, it opened again slightly with a sudden creak, sending my heart racing again. A single eye peered through that narrow slit, and Mion's hawkish gaze peered at me once again.
See you, Ki-chan.
Yeah.
I'd hate it if you'd miss school tomorrow, alright?
Thud. The door closed. I wasn't able to move a muscle, even after their low laughter died off into the distance, and silence once again enveloped the room. Coming back to my senses, the first thing I did was lock the door. They knew that Iwashi-san and I had talked about. Why? How? No, that wasn't important. Thinking about it now, all of it could have been overheard from the beginning when Iwashi-san met me. Just as Mion said, I couldn't hide anything. Then, what were they trying to tell me? That part was obvious. They were warning me not to say anything unnecessary. What did they deem unnecessary? I only talked with Iwashi-san about one thing, and they were warning me that that was unnecessary? That was it that Iwashi-san talked about? What was it that Iwashi-san talked to me about? The incidents involving Oshiro-sama's curse and that occurred every year weren't individual cases, but were connected as a whole, as well as the fact that there may well be multiple perpetrators hidden within Hamanazawa? No, more precisely, that Mion, Rena, Satoko, and Rika-chan were all suspicious? Is that what they were trying to warn me against? What kind of nonsense am I thinking about? I hit my own face hard enough that I let out a loud slap. If only that would wake me from this nightmare. But for some reason it felt like I was punching a blanket. It was almost laughably painless. Calm down, Kiachi Mabara. When did I become such a pessimist? Calm down. Settle down and sort things out. The reason Mion knew I was eating lunch with Iwashi-san was probably because somebody from Hamanazawa just happened to be there at the time. They must have told Mion that I was there. That made the most sense. Plus, come to think of it, she didn't ask me where I ate lunch, did she? She only asked, was it good?
They were just curious. Since I was together with someone not from Hamizawa, it's not as if they had any ulterior motives. That's it. That has to be it. Thinking about it that way was the same with Rena. I was just being strangely ambiguous about when I met with Iwashi-san, and Rena was just correcting me on that. That's when I was bewildered by the change in character from the usually mild-mannered Rena, and was just startled by it. That's the most natural way of thinking about it. It felt like my mind was mixed up and in a tangled mess of spaghetti. Deep red marinara sauce would have poured out of my nose and ears if you squeezed my head. Thinking that, I suddenly felt like vomiting. I really didn't want that to happen, so I stopped holding my head. Lately, I had no idea what anyone was saying. Spending time with them was fun. It didn't feel like there was any sort of hidden agenda. I really do think that they're a good bunch of people. When I just moved here and couldn't make heads or tails of everything, they were really kind to me. Rena was really kind and always looked after me. As long as that strange affliction didn't rear its ugly head, she was really pretty cute. Mion was also a really good person. She didn't care about anyone's age or gender and was an optimistic and outgoing. I was never bored when I was with her. And talking of not getting bored, Rambunctious Satsuko was a good person for that too. She was pretty bratty, but that was just the way she interacted with others. Rika-chan was the same way. She didn't speak often, but that didn't mean that she was always silent. They were my friends. But after hearing of the better untold secrets of Hamizawa from Iwashi-san and T-Dog-san, when I was told about Ashiro-sama's curse, things started going crazy. Then hearing from Iwashi-san that Mion, Rena, Satoko, and Rika-chan were all suspicious, after that everything changed. That's right. It all started getting weird after Iwashi-san told me all that strange stuff. And at that time, I really should have not listened to those weird stories. And I even should have heard about the past incidents from T-Dog-san at the night of Watanagashi. And yeah. If I just hadn't gotten that strange sense of curiosity, if I just hadn't... That's right. That's why they... That is censored. Is that supposed to be fucked? So that's why they fucked T-Dog-san? No. That's why they killed. Whatever. That impudent outsider seeking the likes of me after everybody went to out of their way to keep it a secret from me. They'll probably kill Iwashi-san as well for trying to unearth what everybody was warning me about and better left unturned. Besides that, he was unforgivable for spewing words that made me doubt the others. Of course, a guy like that is going to be killed. Both T-Dog-san and Iwashi-san were nothing but outsiders, after all. They were entities who couldn't coexist with the people of Hamizawa. Those guys should just fall to Oshiro-sama's curse and just die. It wasn't their fault. It was my fault for not being able to hold back my curiosity. It wasn't their fault. It wasn't their fault. It wasn't their fault. It wasn't their fault. It wasn't their fault! I settled into a daze. It was a lethargic feeling, like I had just gotten up, but the ominous chill that haunted me had subsided. I was fine now. I was no longer frightened. I had completely recovered. I'll go to school tomorrow right as rain. And I'll greet everyone. I'll take part in club activities. It'll definitely be fun. It had to be fun. I was one of them, after all. That reminds me. I need to eat those mochi. I hope I'm able to tell which one Rena made. I remembered the homework the two brought with them when they visited me. But wow, our club did deliver. That was something else. I picked up the package I dropped on the floor and headed into the living room. It'd be nice, I guess, to have some tea with it. To fill my mouth with mochi while drinking tea. Oh, this was quite the delectable situation I was in.
Opening up the newspaper wrapping, there were 5 plump red bean paste mochi fit snugly inside. There were letters written on them from left to right on the newspaper. A, B, C, D, and E. Now then. They said Rena made one of these. I wonder which one. There wasn't much difference in how they looked. They smelled and appeared about the same. This was a pretty difficult problem. The biggest difference was probably their shape. It wasn't sure what kind of person Mion's grandma was, but Rena had to be different from hers. Looking carefully, I could see one mochi that was made very neatly. So, well, just staring at it, I could tell that one stood out. Looks like this challenge depends on whether or not this one is Rena's. Calm down and think even harder. Mion had said her grandma made a ton of them and was told to give some out, if I remember correctly. So that meant 4 of these were from that large batch. Then what about Rena? She probably made only 1. So she probably spent quite a bit of time on it, meaning the one Rena made was this one, E. For a moment, I thought it might have been a trap. Sorry, we'll take a second. For a moment, I thought it might have been a trap Mion laid, as she knew I'd pick up on it, but that probably was not the case. I wouldn't be so sure if I knew Mion had made it, but since she said Rena made it, it probably wasn't a trap. Alright, my tea is ready too. I'll start with the defending champ Mion's grandma. Let's see. Not bad. The smooth bean paste was soft and chewy. The smooth bean paste and soft, chewy texture left little to be desired. The tea I drank afterwards also accented the experience. This was an exquisite piece of work. Now, how about Rena's? The creation was so delicate, one would think it was a high-class Japanese dessert. Since I normally had quite the appetite, I was slightly worried about the size of the portion. But, well, first a bite. This was quite a difficult one to judge, actually. The ingredients were exactly the same, and there was little difference in flavor. What was different was how it was shaped at the end, so it was to be expected. So the deciding factors would be presentation and volume. The well-formed and well-sized champion versus Rena, the challenger, with a size you just couldn't get enough of. I'd only taken 1 bite of Rena's. I would probably have to wait until after I was done eating to make my decision. Maybe there was something hidden inside that could cause an upset. Choo-choo, huh? It seems my prediction was right. My tongue touched something. It didn't feel like something edible, so I reached in with my fingers and grabbed it. What? What was this? Before I could fully comprehend what it was, I threw it away with the rest of the mochi I was eating as fast as I could. I slammed against the wall, crushing the bean jam into a splatter. Then, after sticking for a moment, it slid down to the floor. I was dumbstruck by my own actions. What was I doing? Rena had gone out of her way to make this for me, but how could I? Dumbstruck, I looked down at the hand that had performed such a vile act, and I remembered what I had taken out of my mouth. At first, I thought it was a hair. Even though it was shorter than Mion's, Rena's hair was still quite long, and it wasn't this short. It was also a bit too hard to be hair. It was thick enough to roll around on my tongue. There was a bit of metallic sheen on one end of it, and there was a hole for where thread goes through it, like a sewing needle. Yes, that's right. It looked very much like a sewing needle. Exactly like one. The end was pointed as well, quite sharply. It really did just look like a sewing needle. Huh? What did I mean by looked very much like a sewing needle? Just a bit ago. I couldn't answer. But a voice inside me already knew, and let me know by chattering my molars together. I couldn't stave off the terror welling up inside me. Suddenly, I tasted something metallic and felt a prickling pain at the back of my throat. I stuck my finger in the back of my mouth and felt around to see if I was bleeding. Suddenly, I felt the urge to vomit. The sharp taste of bile irritated the back of my throat. I clasped both hands over my mouth, and after writhing in agony, I was somehow able to hold back the nausea. I was finally able to breathe normally again, but this time, my heart was intensely throbbing. Then, it finally registered. Exactly what was mixed in with the mochi. Before I could think of any of the correct word, my hands were already on the move. Splat, plop, splort. I tossed the rest of the mochi against the wall. The geometrical patterns of the scattered bean jam on the wall suddenly invoked a terrible omen in my mind. After looking away, I dashed out of the hall and flew upstairs to my room, where I stayed under my covers until morning. I clutched my own shoulder, howling madly in a mix of fear, anger, sadness, and frustration. This wasn't a threat or a warning or a reminder, nothing as simple as that. What had happened in Hamanazawa? What is happening in Hamanazawa? What would happen? I didn't know the answer to any of those questions. Where did I break a taboo? Regardless, now Rena and Miona and the others, they consider me the enemy. And they thought that I should just die? I won't let you kill me. Not for such a pointless reason. I fell into a restless sleep as I was crushed by my negative emotions. It was as if I was being drawn into a billowing bottomless marsh. So, that was attempted murder on us. It really started last episode, but shit's going down. This story's not going to have a happy ending.
Let's cut to the chase. Is there a drug that causes someone to kill themselves?
Not directly, no.
That's quite a roundabout response. They're saying that there's one that does it indirectly.
Something like that puts you in a suicidal mental state like that?
Something that puts you in a suicidal mental state like that. That'd be hard to say. What would a suicidal mental state be?
Like a person with a serious bipolar disorder. It's believed that people are most likely to attempt suicide when swinging from depression to mania.
Clinical depression and bipolar disorder are different. Clinical depression indicates a prolonged state of depression, whereas bipolar disorder is characterized by a passive depressive state accompanied by a very active manic state. Individuals with clinical depression suffer from low self-esteem and are quite pessimistic, but rarely commit suicide. They do not have the willpower to even commit suicide, nor does the mania on its own lead to suicide. That has the opposite effect, filling the person with confidence and making them feel as if though they're walking on air. Thus, they do not commit suicide. That's interesting. Neither state causes suicide, but when the condition changes, they might do so? There is a desire to commit suicide when in a state of depression, but they do not have the willpower to commit such a formidable act. But when they enter mania, they gain a burst of willpower and their body moves as they desire. I see. So it means they gain the willpower to commit suicide. That's how it goes. That's why patients are given sedatives during that time to keep them from acting on their impulses. Then was T-Dog bipolar? People who suffer from bipolar disorder generally commit suicide by more civilized means. Like, say, hanging or jumping off some shit. Self-harm is different, because going through a withdrawal is completely different. T-Dog's death wasn't civilized. So, one would think that it was caused by some foreign substance. As I said from the start, tell me of a drug that causes someone to commit suicide.
There are reports that methamphetamine overdoses produce a condition that resembles bipolar disorder. It's a stimulant. Barbiturate overdoses are also reported to cause erratic behavior. It's a sleep aid.
There are no signs of stimulants. Are there any other possibilities?
All I can think of is that some sort of illness. Something like Graves' disease, which affects a person's thyroid, is known to cause symptoms that resemble bipolar disorder. But Graves' disease has many characteristics and symptoms on its own. The deceased exhibited none of them.
I wonder, is there something that could happen more spontaneously? Something that fits this case that would cause someone to want to commit suicide all of a sudden?
Are you familiar with organic mental disorders? In short, it's a condition where the brain is out of whack due to physical injury or illness. It can be caused through drugs, but it can also be caused by physical trauma, encephalitis, a stroke, or even tumors.
Basically, even without a drug, one can succumb to irregular mental states.
The deceased was surrounded right after being chased, and his life was in danger, right? All of that stress could have messed with his brain chemistry. He could have been hit on his head, and those factors combined might have caused him to mutilate himself. It's a possibility.
Could you explain that to me in simpler terms?
Basically, he got knocked on his noggin in the brawl and made him go haywire.
Then his lady didn't have any intent to kill. Just smacked him in a bad place when he nicked some change.
The two plump men laughed hoarsely.
But of course, it's not like that.
Indubitably. If it was habitual drug use, if it was something mental, the deceased's body holds the key. How are things on your end?
Oh my goodness, look at the time. I need to get back soon, or Kuma-chan will be angry with me.
Yay. Good luck. Best wishes.
Best wishes.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
Those guys just now.
They had national diet badges.
Then it's Prefectural Assembly Member and City Councilor Sonozaki. That's interesting.
Fuck. Okay. It's two different people again. Then they had Prefectural Assembly Member and the City Councilor Sonozaki?
That's interesting. The Prefectural Assembly Member and the City Councilor are all related. It's dirty, what it is. Shouting out each other's name during the elections. While one is up for election and the other one holds an assembly, and they double up on their campaign activities. Blatantly.
I don't know how much of this stuff, but isn't that against the rules of the election?
As long as they have no prior consultation, there are no restrictions on their political activities. Kuma-chan, the investigation division is going to be pretty tough for you. You should at least brush up on election politics.
Well, I'm not suited for this intelligence division. 'Cause I'm dumb. There was a prefectural assembly member, Sonozaki, and a city councilor, Sonozaki. Also, the mayor of Haminazawa. All of them involved with the Sonozaki family. What crap.
Looks like they were seen off by the department chief and the deputy chief.
It came to me. That night, when the chief invited me along to get some udon, I thought that was it. You have a lot of connections, so you might have had something, did you?
Nope, not a thing.
No, hold on. Let's assume that it's Australian talking first. Okay.
You have a lot of connections, so you might have heard something, did you?
Nope, not a thing.
Ma'am, I'll take a tofu fritter and a fish cake.
The council had balked at me in the police chief's stead.
Fucking shit. Oh my, is that so? Ma'am, I'll take another bowl. Prefectural Assembly Member Sonozaki and City Councilor Sonozaki were both intimidating. Our short-nosed career police chief couldn't even handle being yelled at by them. They're like Yakuza. A petition with your name came up regarding the investigation of Haminazawa incident is being handled.
Goodness me! I've not even the faintest.
No need to play dumb. You're reopening the past cases regarding Haminazawa, aren't you?
I've already got my handful with T-Dog's death, actually.
Really? If it's true, then there's no problem. There was a period of silence. While we were silent, we made headway on our food and drink.
Yeah, that was quite the feast. This month has been a bunch of losses for me, so my wallet was feeling the pinch. Much appreciated.
No, it was nothing. Tell me a good horse again. I'll bet it's the same. I'll bet on the same one as you.
I haven't been doing well there lately. Haven't been able to read the horses at all. Taxi!
I'm going by train. The police chief is taking a taxi. I don't know who's fucking talking. I have my own car, but it'd be rash of me to drive home. Can't blow it right now before retirement with a DUI. Even though he could still rattle off, it looked like his legs were already go. Pushing him into the cab, I gave the driver the police chief's address. We'll see you again tomorrow. Happy New Year. Oh. Okay.
We'll see you again tomorrow. Happy New Year.
Higurashi-san.
Yeah.
The past incidents have all been closed. Stop lumping them all together. Those villagers half believe it's really a curse.
Well, I'm not convinced.
You're going to be retiring next year, aren't you? Weren't you going to pay off your mortgage with your pension and move up to Hideko with your mom?
Mother pines to return to the land of her birth. It is the least I can do. And the pension, well, they'll let me enjoy myself in Suno.
The police chief may issue a special retirement salary raise, he says. A public servant's pension is calculated based on their monthly salary. So, if you were to get a raise right before retirement, your bonus to your salary would be inflated. And you would get heavy surplus of funds. That tends to be how it's done around here. Of course, it's not a custom that's thought of highly. The difference between the bonus and the pension is quite a bit. I'd expect nothing less than exemplary from our egghead chief.
But, well, they say our salary is compensation for hard work, but in the end it's really just to do with the passage of time.
It's not something that I can laugh at, but I'll laugh through it anyway. I don't think it's anything exemplary, but given how hard you've worked, it's not odd that you're getting that much of a pension. I'd like to get that much myself.
If I can get it, well, of course I want it.
Oh, you'll get it. You're an adult, after all. Sorry for holding you up here, driver. Thank you very much. I closed the door roughly, interrupting the chief's conversation a bit rudely. It looked like the chief still had something to say, but he smiled wryly and waved, and I waved in return. The cab sped up gradually and soon disappeared among the sea of lights.
Oh man. I wonder if I can really repay that loan.
For some reason right now I'm like super tired of the Australian voice. I don't like the police chief and how much he talks. But anyway, those little side things aside, fuck, that's 2 episodes in a row where it's best described as holy shit, fuck, goddamn. Like, just curses. Just shit is happening. And it's creepy. And this isn't going to end well for anyone. So, we'll see what happens next time. Probably something super creepy and interesting.